Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is really exciting in that I felt like I haven't created new content for you guys in quite a while, and although I've been having a blast streaming Sekiro now and then, it feels really good to be able to come back and be motivated to create new content. Now, the motivator of that was last Thursday's Sony PS5 The Future of Gaming event. Now before we get into the video, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more similar gaming content. Now the event at the time of this recording was last Thursday, June 11th, 2020, and it included both a game preview and a showcase of the hardware of the PS5, which I'll get into later. But I'll go over the games that I was particularly excited about in order. And to start, the first game that I thought was very interesting was Project Athia. Apparently that's a working title. It's being released by Square Enix and Luminous Productions. It starts out with a woman running through a surreal world and manipulating nature to fight bioluminescent animals. Now, I don't know much more about that, but even just the imagery of that, the fact that there are bioluminescent animals and trying to figure out what has happened to the world is really interesting to me. So that's certainly a game that I'm really excited about knowing more in the coming days. The second game is probably one of the games that I was the most excited overall of the event, and that game is called Stray. Now, Stray has a release date of 2021, and it's being released by Annapurna Interactive. The trailer fades into a cyberpunk city inhabited only by robots and one particular cat. The imagery is really fascinating too. There's graffiti that says things like "R.I.P. humans, no escape." There's a robot that is looking through the garbage. All the streets are destroyed. So it suggests that something catastrophic must have happened to humanity to cause this. However, I'd say that the robots look like they have a pretty cohesive working society. They have businesses, bars, there are robots lying around, although things definitely seem dejected. And it's up to you, an adorable kitty in a backpack, to guard against threats and solve mysteries in the city. Now this one I'm so excited about, if only for the simple idea that you're playing in a weirdly dystopian world as an adorable fluffy cat. Now, I have a cat with 3 legs, and his name is Salem, and I feel strongly that in a world of robots, he too would be solving mysteries. So just thinking of that and putting myself in the kitty's shoes is just so exciting. I wonder if you can even customize your own cat. I think that would be so exciting, but it seems that you're the little tabby that we saw in the trailer. So just that, in and of itself, simply interests me very, very greatly. Next up is Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Now this game is a console exclusive to the PS5 and it's being released by Ember Lab. The trailer opens up revealing beautiful scenery in a fantasy world that seems to be filled with little Miyazaki fluffs, just like the ones that you see in Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. Now just that in and of itself, it sounds really wonderful. You see little gnomes running around and even beautiful temples, so I'm excited just to know more about this particular world. Now the protagonist is a young woman wielding magic arrows and working to heal troubled spirits. So regarding the Miyazaki fluffs, which is just what I'm going to call them from here on in because I don't have another name for them, it seems that you can either employ them either by controlling them or gaining their trust in being able to do tasks around that world or something really similar. But you can also fight really epic looking boss battles. As a fan of Dark Souls and other adventure games that really highlight the boss battles, I thought that was very interesting. Now in the trailer you see her both using straight up magic and magic arrows. So I'm excited to see how they employ the gameplay style in that. That's definitely one game that I want to learn more about. One more really interesting thing about Kena is that at the end of the trailer it shows the little fluffs going into one area, coming out, and then the environment is restored. So it seems that the point of this game is that you're restoring life to the world. Definitely one to keep our eyes on for the future. The next game is highly anticipated. We saw a trailer back in E3 2019, and now we saw an actual gameplay trailer. And that game is Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo comes out in 2021 and is being released by Bethesda Softworks. Now from what I could see in the trailer, it looks like it lacks some of the beauty that we saw in that preview from 2019. Although that may be to be expected because what we were seeing last year were more like cutscenes, whereas what we are seeing now are gameplay scenes. The imagery is still dark and surreal, but I feel like this particular trailer added a little more detail and a little less mystery to what we saw last year. And the protagonist seems to be able to see things that others can't. Where the enemies are concerned, you fight no-face enemies as well as masked enemies. So I'm excited to see more about who is behind the disappearances of these people in Tokyo. It also appears that you have the ability to alter reality as well as see ghosts. Ghostwire Tokyo is another one that I'm excited to learn more about. Now, the next two games I'm going to cover may arguably be the most exciting yet. But before I cover those, I wanted to talk about some honorable mentions that I saw too. Now, although I may not have as much personal interest in these games, I do think that they were some of the most exciting that were covered at the event. And those games are Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a standalone game starring Miles as Spider-Man, Pragmata, which is a beautiful looking game starring either a robot or a person in a spacesuit and what appears to be a robot girl, and of course Resident Evil 8, which in my mind looked a little sneakily like a Bloodborne 2 situation, so my heart was definitely beating, but then I saw that a few details were a little bit different. So Resident Evil 8 is another one to look forward to. And on the topic of the games that I've already covered as well as these honorable mentions, I feel that this is a really important time to include representation in games. In the world right now, there are changes that are being demanded and happening really fast. Really welcome and important changes. And one thing that I noticed in this particular PS5 event were that a lot of the protagonists that we see here are either women or people of color. Now, even 5 years ago, you would watch E3 and that was unheard of. You'd usually get one archetype of hero. And although I'm not necessarily knocking that archetype, it's something that after a while got really tired. And as somebody who does not fit that particular archetype, it was really fun to see just more of a variety of protagonists. Now, that's certainly not something that was prompted by a lot of the cultural changes that we're going through now. That's something that they must have been working on for months, if not years. So I have to applaud Sony just for going in that direction. It is such a necessary time to address that, and that's something that they already had covered. Now, the next one is the one that by far I'm the most excited about. You can probably hear it right now, but that game is Demon's Souls. So this version of Demon's Souls is a remake by Bluepoint Games. Now, Bluepoint Games are the same people who remade Shadow of the Colossus recently. Now, I haven't had the chance to play Shadow of the Colossus yet, however I do own it and I'm excited to dive in. What I've heard from big fans of Team Eco and Shadow of the Colossus is that that particular remake was a worthy one that they loved to play with great quality of life improvements. And I hope for the same for Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls is one of the few games in the series that I have not played yet. The only two that I haven't played are Demon's Souls and Dark Souls 2. And the reason why I haven't played Demon's Souls are mainly those quality of life aspects. I played Dark Souls 1 for the first time in 2018, and even then it felt very dated. When I played Dark Souls 1, I really struggled with the gameplay. I thought that, if anything, the quality of the game was excellent, but the gameplay was extremely dated. So with that in mind, I actually didn't dive into Demon's Souls. Now I can't be more ecstatic that they're going ahead and remaking it. Before I go into further detail, I actually knew the moment before they announced Demon's Souls remake that it was going to happen. And the reason why is because Shuhei Yoshida came up and he said that the game was very near and dear to him. Now that sounded very familiar to me because not like I went back and repeatedly watched this video, but I definitely did. In E3 2014, right before Bloodborne was announced, Shuhei Yoshida came up to the stage to say that the game, and I quote, is dear to his heart.
And tonight, I get the honor of introducing a completely new IP from one of the industry's most respected game directors. This is a project that is very dear to my heart if you know me and our history with the developer. Welcome to the world of Bloodborne. Hi everyone, thank you for being with us today for this very special event. But before we get to the end of the show, I have something very near and dear to me.
Seeing that in and of itself made my heart pound. I knew what was coming a second before. One interesting detail about that is something that I discovered from Lance McDonald's Twitter. So Lance McDonald is an amazing data miner and he goes back into games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. He finds the old files and he restores some of the cut content. So a lot of the recent cut content that you've probably seen in the community is because of Lance. So one thing he pointed out is that Shuhei Yoshida used to think the total opposite of Demon's Souls. So there's been a little bit of discourse around that. So I'll quote as well. So apparently years and years and years ago, this is over 10 years ago, Shuhei Yoshida played an early preview of Demon's Souls and he said, "This is crap. This is an unbelievably bad game." By 2010 though, he released a statement saying that he deeply regretted saying that. Now I've seen some people argue that the reason why Shuhei Yoshida changed his mind was because of the money involved. And I think that it's fair to think that, but I don't necessarily agree. I think that after he made the mistake of playing the early version of the game and making an early judgment based on something that was clearly in progress, going forward he saw the final result and realized that he was wrong. I think it's always okay to get more information about something and change your mind. That's called progress and growth. I think that's a welcome change and certainly something that I approve of as somebody who has enjoyed the games that he has helped to release since then. It allows him to contribute to getting new games like that to us. Now, finally, onto the trailer. So it shows Boletaria in absolutely stunning vistas that are very reminiscent of the original trailer for Demon's Souls. One detail that I did notice between the old trailers and gameplay and this gameplay is that there seems to be added clarity and less fog and atmosphere as the old trailers and gameplay that I've seen. Now, I'm not concerned about that quite yet. It definitely looks like it's had a beautiful coat of paint, but sometimes removing that atmosphere can be a little bit detrimental to a game. They did that in Final Fantasy XII when they remade it. The original version for the PS2 was very dreamy with far-off vistas that were a little bit blurry. It really showed that depth of field and got you immersed in the gameplay. They eventually remade the game and everything was crisp, but because everything was crisp, it took away from that intimate, shallow depth of field and atmosphere. Now I hope that that's something that we don't lose in the Demon's Souls remake. What I'm going to do is trust that Bluepoint Games is going to do Demon's Souls justice. And for me, as a first-time player, I'm so excited to immerse myself in the world of Boletaria for the first time to see how the Soulsborne series really began. And since this is a remake, I do have some hopes for what they're going to accomplish with this game. Number one is I really hope that there are going to be quality of life improvements. Like I was talking about with Dark Souls 1, there were a lot of really difficult parts of the gameplay that I wish that they could have changed, especially in the recent remaster that they created. Although the atmosphere was greatly improved in Dark Souls 1 Remaster, some of the gameplay improvements that I really hoped that they would include really weren't. Omnidirectional rolling was the number one. As a game that they're creating now, I feel that there really isn't any reason not to make smooth gameplay. The remake of Demon's Souls is a PS5 exclusive, and now from the footage that I saw in the trailer, as well as some of the in-game screenshots, they look absolutely stunning. Although it could be at the cost of a little bit less of that foggy atmosphere, I'm so excited to see what they do with the game, and I'm even more excited to play it for the very first time. And the last game I'm going to cover today is Horizon Forbidden West. Now, Horizon is a game that my partner truly, truly loved. In 2017, there was a bit of a standoff because she felt like that was Game of the Year, whereas I agreed that Breath of the Wild was Game of the Year. However, they're truly neck and neck. I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn was the gold standard of beauty for the PS4 generation, and that may set the standard for the PS5 generation as well with Horizon Forbidden West. You saw some cool Easter eggs in that trailer, for example, that it's set in what used to be San Francisco. So you see the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance, you see underwater there's a building that says it's San Francisco. It's really a fascinating way of immersing yourself back into the world of Horizon Zero Dawn and expand on that story. So those were the games that I was most excited for at the Sony PS5 Future of Gaming event. Did you get the chance to see it? If not, I highly recommend going to see it. I will put a link down below to one of the broadcasts. So to get it a little bit personal for a moment, at this time where there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what's out there to make us happy, having an event like this one that shows you things that you can do while you're stuck at home and worlds that you can immerse yourself in, things to explore right now, are so essential. So having an event like this to me made me more excited than I've been in quite a while. What did you think of the games or even the hardware? The hardware itself, I've seen some level of debate on, but I personally think it looks really cool. Now, I really admire the fact that they took a risk, they made it curvy, and they included a Seto Kaiba collar at the very top. I think it looks really cool, it looks futuristic, and it looks like something that would look great on any shelf. And also to expand, one concern that I had when looking at the hardware was I was like, ooh, will that fit in my shelves? A lot of my shelves are very short and this looks like a very tall drink of water. I learned that you can in fact tilt it sideways. So if you're like me and you have very limited space, that's another great feature of it. So what did you think of the event? I'd really love to know what you felt were your favorite games or some of the trailers that you felt fell flat at the event. Feel free to sound off in the comments below. Again, like and subscribe to my channel for more. It really does help me out tremendously. I also have a Patreon, which I'll link to down below if you'd like to contribute. Definitely not a requirement in any sense, but if you do like my content and if you are able to contribute, it's something that I very much appreciate, and it does help me to get more hardware, get more games, and be able to deliver more content to you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful night or day wherever you are. Stay safe above all. I really do worry, so feel free to even sound off in the comment section below to say that you're okay. I'm really happy to hear from you. Bye guys, I'll see you on the next one. Although that may be expected, although that may be, what am I saying? What is that sound? What is going on? There are some flushing sounds outside my wall and I'm deeply concerned. And I've seen weird, like, water sounds. Like, oh, do you hear it? It's just like the friggin' research hall. It feels like they're sucking out brain fluid, like right behind the door.
I need brain fluid. Murky, mushy brain fluid.
Oh my god, am I in the research hall? This quarantine is driving me a little nuts. I'm so sorry. I think that that is a wonderful change, if only since there's knocking. Why is there knocking? Dude! Okay. Ah! Why are they knocking? Why are you knocking? You can tilt.